Today we're taking a look at the Asics GT-2000 version 8.
Never sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. Can somebody save me, I'm losing every battle.
5.71 miles, 7 minutes, 43 seconds per mile today, getting in my run through the Chicago Loop in the Asics GT-2000 version 8. And this is a shoe that definitely surprised me. It wasn't at all what I thought it was going to be. But before I get too deep into my thoughts on this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that was sent to me early by Roadrunner Sports. However, neither they nor Asics is paying me to make a video or to wear the shoe or to use the shoe. No one's going to have any editorial input or control over the video, and no one will be able to see it until you guys get to see it on YouTube. Now with the disclosures out of the way, let's talk about what's going on in the GT-2000 version 8. The overall thing that I'll mention about this Asics shoe is that it's less kind of Asics-y. There isn't a huge, like, big plastic heel counter. There is a lot of support in there, but it's not as in your face, and it doesn't seem to be quite as assertive. And it's a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be too. It's certainly not a lightweight racer by any means, but previous Asics that I've picked up, previous Asics that I've run in, all seem to be heavier than they look. This is opposite. This shoe feels a little bit lighter than I look. So some very exciting changes in terms of the direction, hopefully, that this is indicating that a lot of the Asics line is going. There's also a use of FlyteFoam, which is a foam that I've run in before. I ran it in the Dynaflight 2. They're on the Dynaflight 4 now. But I ran in the Dynaflight 2 for a little while, and I really enjoyed that foam, and I thought that they really had something there, and I wanted to see it in more shoes. I'm happy to see that it's in the GT-2000 version 8. I know it's been in some of the prior versions as well. Now, even though there have been some changes that I think are in a great direction, it's still very much an Asics shoe. So those of you who are loyal to the brand and love your Asics, you're still going to find a lot of the same things that you're already used to. There's the Spiva foam. They've got gel in the heel, which I actually found that I really enjoyed. And then on the medial side, this is where a lot of the work for this is a stability shoe comes into play. Now, normally I don't like to run in stability shoes. I got put into a stability shoe years ago, and I ran in those for a long time, and it just, ever since then, it put like a sour taste in my mouth in terms of stability shoes. And now it's to the point where I normally run in neutral shoes, and if I detect that there's like some shoes will be neutral and have like a hint of stability in them, if that's in there, I can usually tell right away, and I tend not to like it. So when they asked me to take a look at this shoe, I was very nervous about it because I think it's hard for me to, as a reviewer, to kind of like distance myself from that, the parts that don't work for my foot versus whether a shoe is a good shoe or not. But overall, I will cut to the chase and say that this, I think, is a good stability shoe. I found that the shoe worked with me really well. I did feel the stability aspects of it, and towards the end of my run, right around mile like 5 or so, I started to feel the kind of things that I normally feel when I run in a shoe that has stability. And so that's not saying that it's a bad shoe. It's just that means that there are stability aspects in there. So those of you who need that will be feeling it. So the overall feel that I got from this shoe was that I was really enjoying a lot of the comfort back here. I'm more than halfway through a pretty rigorous marathon training cycle. And so one of the areas that I tend to feel a lot of kind of not overuse, but repetitive strain is in this part of the heel. And so I actually really appreciated the gel here. The gel does add quite a bit of weight, but it also is quite good at absorbing impact. And then the extra soft foam back here was all very nice. And then as I'm towing off, I'm feeling a lot of the FlyteFoam that's in there, and it just felt great. What that overall led to is a pretty smooth transition. I actually like this a lot. It reminded me quite a bit of one of my favorite shoes, which is the Saucony Ride GTX, especially because this shoe also is very padded. And so I normally don't like that for summer running, but it is cooling off now. I think we're still gonna have another like heat wave in Chicago, probably right around the time of the marathon, given my luck. But it's cooling off now, so some of this extra padding is appreciated and not a hindrance. Normally when there's a ton of padding in a shoe and it's really hot, it just becomes a sponge for sweat. That wasn't a problem today. So the tongue, very padded, lots of padded around all the parts that will touch your foot, right around the ankle, and then lots of padding right in the back heel by the Achilles. So really comfortable to step into when you're in those kind of high mileage or high intensity portions of your training block. It's a very comfortable shoe to step into. The insole also feels great, really great. So great step-in comfort for this one as well. But at the same time, usually the price for that comfort is usually speed, and not necessarily like top-end speed, like how fast can I run in these. It's effort is probably a better way to phrase that. And so usually when it's comfortable, you're sinking in more, it's absorbing more, but that's also absorbing more of your energy. So to run a similar pace that you might normally be used to running, you have to put in that much more energy. The energy has to come out of somewhere, and if it's not getting it back from the bounce in the foam, you're putting that extra energy in. I didn't really feel that today, so I was expecting that today. I had a really tough workout the day before, and this is a shoe that was pretty comfortable to step into. I felt like I was gonna have to work really hard to be able to hit the paces that I wanted to hit today. I ended up hitting them and then going faster than I was expecting to go today. So that was a nice surprise. So not really paying a big pace or effort penalty for getting this kind of comfort. So pretty exciting. I really like this shoe, except for the stability aspects, but that's me. I'm a neutral runner, and I kind of tend to detest stability aspects in shoes. But I think that if you are someone that is looking for a stability shoe, or if you've been running in neutral shoes, maybe you're getting some ankle pain because you've been rolling a little bit too much, I think this is one that you should really check out. So really happy with this one. Other shoes that kind of have some stability, a lot of the Saucony line likes to kind of insert sneaky into their neutral shoes, some stability aspects in there. Those are other things that I might look at as well. But this was quite a surprise. The one thing that I will note before I go, though, is that there is a ton of rubber on the bottom, and I was hoping that there'd be a little bit less of that. Overall, it's still lighter than I was expecting, and it still felt snappier than I was expecting to as a shoe. So I suppose you could have all this rubber and they weren't also getting a penalty for that in terms of the performance. But Asics always talks about how they have their high abrasion rubber and that it's going to be very long lasting. I think a lot of people look to Asics because it's a great value, because you're going to get a bunch of miles or a bunch of kilometers out of your shoe, and they're just going to last for a really long time. But if it's a high abrasion rubber, why do we need so much of it? If it's high abrasion and that resistant to wear, can't we use less of it, save some weight, make it a little bit thinner, let me feel a little bit more of the foam technologies that are actually really good now, and feel less of the rubber? That's kind of like my one big knock on this shoe. Overall, the fit was really nice. The mesh was comfortable. It's a little bit thicker, but it's not hot. So overall, enjoyed the fit of this shoe, the GT-2000 version 8. And for those of you looking for a stability shoe, I think this is one that you should definitely try on and give it a shot. It's worth your consideration. Before I go, I do want to remind you guys about the charity runner for this week. It's Jerry Canterbury running the Marine Corps Marathon in November and raising money for 26-1, which is a charitable organization that seeks to empower women through running. And I was happy to donate $70 to his fundraising efforts. I'll post links in the description in case you'd like to learn more. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it to end the video, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?